Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another live stream with me, Sam. If you did not know, I am a writer. I write with the pen name of Frances June. I always do this little bit at the start just so that anybody watching these after the fact kind of knows what's going on. So I was supposed to do this live stream yesterday, but I kind of got sidetracked a little bit, so decided to postpone. So hopefully that didn't ruin anyone's plans. I doubt it ruined anyone's plans, but you never know. Some people could be looking forward to this. So this week we are going to be talking about what the last week of novel planning. Hi Patrick, thank you for dropping by. So this week we're going to be talking about the fourth and final week of novel planning, because NaNoWriMo officially starts next week. I actually don't know when the first is. Oh, it must be Monday, right? Because Halloween is on Sunday. I have no clue how time works. So yeah, this is the last week. We have done 3 weeks already, which is just crazy to think that at some point in the very near future, I'm going to be starting to write this book that I've been planning. And hopefully whoever is watching this who's writing, you're going to be starting your books and it's just going to be crazy. I just feel like I can't believe it's already November again. This year and obviously last year have just gone by in a crazy blur, and I have no clue what's happened. But never mind. Let's just drink to the craziness. I'm currently on some Japanese whiskey, so hopefully, if you're feeling better, Patrick, I know you had a migraine, so hopefully you're feeling better. Maybe you shouldn't partake in the alcohol, but I certainly will. It's a strong one. It's good. So last week was all about doing, my voice went a bit crazy there, and doing story beats and sorting out your character arcs. So I had such a crazy week last week. So just a little bit about what happened to me last week. I was still trying to get my car fixed, and that is still up in the air. I had to order a part for, I'm just trying to get it to, I'm glad you're feeling better. I'll just put this on the screen so other people can see. So Patrick is one of my lovely followers / friends, and he had a migraine, and I'm glad that you're only on orange juice because, yeah, probably alcohol, not such a good idea. So I'm trying to get my car past its MOT. My car is just like at the end of its life, and the mechanic said, sell it or get it past its MOT and then sell it as quickly as possible. So I'm trying to do that, but trying to get it fixed to get it past the MOT is proving to be one of the most stressful things in my life. So I had to order a part, like a secondhand part, just sounds stupid, just for the airbag. It's just to have an airbag light go off. So it needed a new computer part. I ordered the new computer last week. It was supposed to be here on Friday and it's still not arrived. So I've had to once again cancel the electrician who was supposed to come out today. And I've had to push my appointment, I don't know if you call it an appointment, at the mechanics till Friday, just to give myself like less stress. And so that's all crazy. Juno, as I'm sure many of you know, my beagle Juno, the love of my life, has had an operation. It's like a minor operation. She had a lump removed from her shoulder. So she's still kind of been in recovery. Last week we got the news that the lump was not cancerous, so huzzah for that. She's fine. She basically is all healing up, but like just the stress of having to take her to the vets and all that stuff. It's like it's difficult looking after an unwell creature who doesn't know that they, not technically unwell, but just trying to keep her like calm and stuff, and it's just impossible because she's basically a cross between a kangaroo and a cat, which is like a crazy cross, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone because she just jumps everywhere even though she's not supposed to, and she just loves to rub herself on stuff even though she's not supposed to. So that's like crazy. So my week last week was just a little bit like all over the place. So I actually only got to doing my last week's tasks on Saturday, and I like spent a good hour or two just going through the beats, so writing the beats for my novel. And if you want to know all about like beats and stuff, you can either watch the last live stream or you can watch the third video in my planning playlist, which is linked in the description below. So I did all my beats, and I actually wasn't 100% sure. Like when I started, I was a bit like lost because every time I start writing beats, I just kind of like I panic. I'm talking like I know how to plan a novel well. I know how to plan a novel, but the well part is obviously up to interpretation. But I did it. Like I got all my beats sorted out, and I actually like as I was writing them and getting to know the like every time you do another thing, another planning thing, you get to know your characters a little bit more. And I definitely feel like I know my characters so much more than before, which is obviously the plan. I'm not really prepared, as always. I'm never prepared for these things. I'm just as a segue so I can get this out of the way. I forgot that I had an on-air sign. Just living out my pirate radio station fantasies. And I completely forgot that I had it until obviously the last live stream. Oh well, it's here. I love this sign. At some point it will live permanently somewhere behind me. So yes, so last week was all about beats and character arcs. I actually didn't 100% write my character arcs because I felt like for me, my character arc is probably going to happen this week. So, you know, when you're doing planning, you kind of just take what you want, do whatever you want. This week, I'm sorry, already like almost 10 minutes in and I'm just like a rambling fool. So I'm just going to grab my iPad because this has my my app, which I use to plan everything. I can plan everything on this app. So Trello is the app. You can probably see I've got a lot of projects on Trello. They're not all writing stuff, but some of them are. So Trello, thank you for liking my on-air sign. It's like one of my favorite purchases that I've ever made. I've wanted one for ages. Trello is like my favorite planning app. I actually wrote a blog post about like these last couple of weeks of planning that's on my website. So I could put a thing up that says what my website is, but it's super simple. It's samantha-cummings.com. And it's linked everywhere. Anyway, I love my website. So if you ever have like 5 minutes to spare, just go on my website and have a look around. I think it's really cute. But I did a blog post and it was all about like how I plan and like the last things that I'm doing on my planning. So it's a little bit more concise than what today is going to be because I'm such a rambler. But I use Trello to come back to the point. And so I will show you my beat sheet. So my beat sheet is actually not too long. So this is actually my beat sheet. The last story that I wrote had, okay, it seems longer on this. On my computer, it didn't seem that long. But these are all the beats of the story. So that's kind of all done. And what I'm going to be doing this week, so I'll kind of just talk through this a little bit before I show an example. So also on Trello, but you can kind of do this however you want. You can do this on another app. You could, like I said last time, like if you want to use post-its to do beats, you could just like separate your post-its into piles. So this week is all about, we finally get around to it, splitting up your beats into the parts of your story. So when you're writing a book or anything, we're probably going to follow a particular structure. So depending on the type of story you're writing, there are different structures to follow. I personally mostly always follow the 5-act structure. But if you did some Googling, you could probably find, I think there's like 3-act structures and probably like 7-act structures. There's all sorts of different ways to write stories. And I would definitely recommend just like looking it up just to see which ones suit your needs. because I'm sure that like writing epic sci-fis is completely different to like writing just like fantasy stuff. So I'm following the 5-act structure, and I'll tell you what those acts are and then kind of explain a little bit. So the first act, or part 1, I always call them parts rather than acts because it's just, I don't like saying the word acts. I find it difficult to say. I don't know why I'm like this. So I'll just talk about it in parts because I feel like saying parts is simpler. So part 1 is like the exposition. I think I've talked about this previously on a live stream. Because I know that I've definitely tried to say the word exposition recently, and I'm terrible at saying that as well. So we've got part 1, the exposition. So that's kind of like the introduction of the characters, and you're setting up the premise of the story. So, like, to use the example that I love to use is like for Twilight, Bella moves to Forks and meets Edward and realizes there's something different about him. So that's kind of like the premise. So you're setting up the premise in the first act or the first part. And then also in terms of like your character arcs, I kind of merge them together. So I have like in my Trello thing, and I've got my acts across the top, I have the act, and I also have underneath it what happens to my characters in that section as well, because I feel like that for me really helps, like knowing what I want all my characters to be doing or going through in whatever, like in as much detail that needs to happen. For like a main character obviously needs to have a little bit more a more upfront and obvious character development, and then my kind of side characters are going to have slightly less because they're side characters. So part 1 is all about exposition. And that is also the part that I'm going to reveal my characters' secrets or desires. So what they think that they want in life or whatever. Part 2 is the rising action. So that's like the gradual rise and the tension for the story. And this part is the bit where I want my characters to kind of see what they want. Maybe given a taste of what they want and kind of drives them to strive further towards it. The third part is the climax of the story. So the super exciting part, you want to happen in part 3. So everything's building to obviously like I'm trying to think of another example other than Twilight, but you know, like the exciting part of a film or a story, because I like to structure my stories kind of like films. So yeah, like it's building up to the exciting part, the climax. And then for my character development at this part, I like the characters to realize either that their dreams are obtainable or, for my case, unobtainable, because I'm going to torture the heck out of my characters. I'm actually at the end of this live stream, if you want to stick around, if you're watching this after the fact or if you're watching this now, at the end of this, I'm actually going to tell you what I'm writing this year. So that's like supposed to be incentive for you to stay. I'm just going to kind of shift around in my seat because I'm kind of uncomfortable. I'm not sat in the best place. And my chair's really squeaky. So yeah, so my characters are going to, in Act 3, the climax, my characters are going to realise, oh no, what I want isn't possible. Because I just love being nasty. So part 4 would be the falling action. So this, I always have like little notes to say what needs to happen. So this is the reenacting characters or tidying up loose ends. And this part does tend to be the shorter part of the story. So like people going home if they've been on a journey. So that's part 4. I was going to say something else. I lost my train of thought. And then at this part, I have for my characters, they are kind of happy that whatever's happened is over, and they realize that they got something that they needed. Rather, I'm going to be delving into the thing that the character needed more than they wanted. Just repeat myself. So something they didn't know they needed. And then part 5 is the resolution. So for me, I'm kind of leaving it on a cliffhanger because I love writing series. So this is naturally going to be, this book that I'm writing this year is naturally going to be the first of a series. So the resolution's obviously tying up loose ends, deciding whether you're just going to close the book off or leave it on a cliffhanger. And that is where I'm going to give the characters a new challenge. So hopefully that kind of all sounds like straightforward and clear. I don't think it's too complicated. I'm not really good at explaining things just like off the top of my head. So I would actually recommend going to my latest blog post and reading it, because I feel like that does, it breaks it down a little bit neater than just my ramblings. I should have brought some water with me because I always get really like dry throat just from talking to nobody. So what I'm going to be doing this week, now that I've kind of got my story parts split, like this, is drag each story beat into the section that it fits into. So the reason that I like to do it this way on this app is because you can really easily tell if your story is not like balancing up very well. So you kind of want every part, apart from part 4, which is the falling action, because that tends to be shorter anyway. Like you just kind of want to zip through that, like tie everything up and zip through to whatever happens at the end. You kind of want everything to be equally balanced. So when you start putting your beats into your acts, it gives you a great opportunity to see whether you've got like way more than is necessary in the exposition. So it could be that you're overloading the first part with just way too much information that you could divvy up and feed throughout the rest of the story. So just like character information and stuff like that. Personally, for me, I always like way too overload on the rising action. I'm just a sucker for writing all the bits that lead up to the exciting part. And then when I get to the exciting part, I'm just like, I just want to finish this book. So that's why doing it this way really helps me, because I always end up having absolutely like all of my beats in part 2, and then having to kind of try and redistribute or just tighten up the story a little bit. So there's just not so much basically trekking to whatever the exciting part is. Like I say, I like to torture my characters, and apparently I like to torture myself as well. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week. And I would recommend anybody who's writing do the same thing. It's just such a good way to have a good visual on where you are with your story. And the next part that I'm going to talk about is time management. And this actually really, really, really feeds into time management in, like, for me personally, in such a perfect way. So you can tag and color code all of your little cards and stuff on Trello. And what really helps me is every day when I'm writing, I kind of take each card and see that as like a chunk that I need to write. So it kind of just breaks down the story, and it gives you a clear view of what part you're writing. So my first card is that the character arrives in town at nighttime, and the house is spooky but kind of cool. So that's like my first beat. And you're welcome for giving that away so soon. It gives you something to look forward to if you ever get to read this book. So what that means is when I'm writing, I know exactly what I'm writing. I know exactly what part I'm writing. And once I finish writing that, I can color code it green so that I know that it's done. So I find that really helpful on Trello. And I'm sure there are loads of other apps that have the same sort of kind of planning structure and let you color code things. But I just find that really helpful. It gives me an opportunity to see how many beats I've hit and how many I have left. And I feel like it just really helps me with time management, because I just know how much further I've got to go if that makes sense. So it kind of just helps my mind break things down into chunks. In terms of actual physical time management, rather than just like, I would call that mental time management, if you're going to be writing in NaNoWriMo this year, and either you've never done it before or you've done it before but you've never finished, then my kind of number one suggestion would be to always write at the same time every day. If you struggle to fit writing into your day, then pick a time every day where you're going to write for an hour. Or 2 hours, like however much time you can fit in, or if you want to break it up during the day. But I would just maybe set an alarm, because you can't ignore an alarm. If you ignore an alarm, then you are a demon person. and I kind of like that about you. Good for you. Personally, if an alarm goes off, then I'm just like, I have to follow the alarm. So yeah, like pick the time that you like to write. So for me, I would love to be a morning writer. And I think I've spoken about this, probably just on like YouTube on one of my videos. I've spoken about this before. I'm not a morning writer, and I have in the past written in the morning, but I feel like that's not for me. I love to like do my whole day and then write at night, because my brain kind of works on stories and like builds things up throughout the day, and then obviously at nighttime you get to just like dump all that onto a page. But some people like to write in the morning, and then you know that you've done it and you can just live the rest of your life without worrying about it. So decide before you start. I'm having like spasm pain. I had worked out yesterday and it wasn't good. Yeah, so like decide what time you think is best for you. Set an alarm if you need to, and stick to it. Weekends are your friend, so like writing as much as you can at the weekend is going to help you. I always think it's best when you're doing nano to stay ahead of the curve. So you have to write 1,667 words a day in order to hit your 50,000 in a month. And it sounds sometimes like writing that much isn't that bad, and you feel like you can do that easily in an hour. Then other times obviously it's more difficult depending on what scene you're working on or whatever. But writing as much as you can at the weekends to try and get ahead of the curve or the target is always so much more helpful, because it obviously keeps the stress off. Personally, I always take the first week off work in November, and I have done for the last 10 years. So I always take the first week of November off, and I try and write as much as I can in the first week. And then I know that I can like just bash away for the rest of the month and not really worry, because I'm probably already ahead. But that's obviously just my personal situation, and not everyone can do that. I just happen to have always been lucky that nobody cares to take the first week of November off. I don't know why, because November is a horrible month other than doing NaNoWriMo. It's cold. The clocks go back at the end of October, and why would you want to go to work after that? Just any chance for me to just like, if I could hibernate all of winter, then I would hibernate all of winter. Excuse me whilst I'll just wipe my nose off screen, because no one wants to see somebody wiping their nose. I always have a runny nose. So yeah, if you are somebody who struggles with time management, set yourself up to write at the same time every day. Reach out to friends who are also writing. I personally have quite a few friends doing NaNoWriMo this year, I think, which is fun, because normally I don't. I'm actually part of my Manchester NaNoWriMo group, but I never go to, people have meetups, well, they used to. I never go because I'm not a very like sociable person, so I don't really like to go to actual things. But I actually have like personal friends who are writing this year, so that's going to be fun, just to kind of catch up and check in and see where everyone's up to. And I recommend finding friends who are doing it. I will always be your friend if you want to like talk about writing. My inbox is always open to anybody who wants to talk about writing, and potentially I might do live write-ins on this channel, and it kind of just depends what people want. So I would love to do live writings, but I don't know if anybody would want to come to those. So if you do, if you're watching this and you're like, oh yeah, like a live writing would be pretty cool. We can all just, I can figure out how this whole thing works and make it fun. Because at the moment I'm literally just pressing broadcast, and I know there are lots more features basically on this, which might make it interesting. It's up to you, gentle viewer. I'm sorry, that was a bit loud. Right, so other than splitting my beats up into the acts and thinking about my time management, I also just want to encourage anybody who's doing NaNoWriMo this year to be positive. Sometimes the hardest thing to get past is your own negativity. I'm not judging you. Don't take that as judgment. But much like anything, if you are unpracticed, like I know that I can finish NaNoWriMo because I do it every year, so I don't really ever feel like I'm not going to finish it. Because I have the personality type of somebody, once they start something, they have to finish it. I'm just lucky that way, except it can drive you mad. But if you feel like you're going to start and you don't know if you're going to finish it, I would just say to keep writing. I don't think it matters so much if you don't hit 50,000 words in the month. But I know like how bad it will feel if you don't even reach the end of the month. So even if you just write 500 words a day instead of 1,000 and whatever, almost 2,000 words, you're going to feel so much better just for writing 500 words a day and getting further in your story. There's nothing worse than starting a story and not finishing it. I know I say that I finish things, and I do technically finish NaNoWriMo every year, but I have not finished stories. And let me tell you that those stories weigh on my mind. And I think about them often, about how I want to go back and finish them. But I'm just such a constantly moving ahead person that I don't know if I ever will. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the future? But I feel like the ones that I've left behind have just gone. So don't be like me in that respect, but be like me in the respect that you can just reach the end of the month and you'll feel good. So finally, this isn't going to be a very long live stream. What am I working on this year? I actually got an email from NaNoWriMo the other day saying that the page is open to add your new book. So I did it, even though like I hadn't officially told anybody what I'm writing this year. I did actually set up my NaNoWriMo page for my novel this year and put like a cheap and nasty cover on it. I'm just going to see if I can find it because I really should have opened the thing. Oh, hold on, I have a comment. I'll stop what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll put this up on screen so people can see. So I feel like this is what a lot of people who start NaNoWriMo, who don't have a lot of writing experience, feel like. That they feel like they're never going to like hit the word count, which is fine. Like, honestly, I don't think striving to write a novel in a month is something that people should do. It kind of just really adds a lot of stress to an already stressful situation. The whole thing is it's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to help encourage people to write every day and to build up a writing regime. That's not the right word. Practice, I guess you could say, like a writing practice. So even if you don't finish the book in November, I have never finished a book in November. I have never finished, got to the end of 50,000 words, and that's been it. I'm writing till like January, February, sometimes March, just to kind of actually finish the story. But it's just more supposed to be fun. Like, I wouldn't take it so seriously. I don't take what I'm writing. My first drafts are never and never like a serious draft. My first draft is just me throwing paint on my canvas. So like just getting as far as you can, you'll always be happy with the progress you've made, because it's always better to start something than to not start something. That's honestly how I feel. I feel like it's so easy to not start things and regret the time that's passed. So if you can start something and you have something like NaNoWriMo where everyone's doing it, so it's kind of easy to jump on board, you'll never regret getting as far as you can. And like, even if you do only write 500, or maybe not even 500 words a day, maybe you only write 200 words a day. I definitely have days when I only write 200 words a day, just in like my general writingness. But that's cool. Like, that's better than nothing, you know? So I'm all for people just trying. I just love it when people try to progress. I just like people progressing. So I don't know if I can actually log into the Nano website because I never remember my passwords for things. But let's see if I can. Like I say, I should have done this before, so I apologize for the boringness. And I'm also working on a really bad internet connection. So my laptop where I'm streaming from, I'm currently hotspotting from my phone, because my phone has better internet in here than my actual internet, which I pay however much I pay a month for, literally one room away from where the box is. But let's not talk about it, because it'll just make me mad. Okay, so does anybody know what my login for this is? Because I certainly don't. It's trying. No. Okay, well, screw that. I will at some point put that on one of my socials, just like the link, so you can, if you're, because I almost knocked everything over. If you're doing Nano and you like do it on the website and stuff, you can add people as friends. So at some point I'll find the link to my profile so that you can add me as a friend and we can all be on it together. But I certainly do have the crappy cover that I came up with for the book on my Canva thing. So I just like to make really like rubbish covers for like, so you can have it on your Nano profile. So my book this year is called Nightingale Road. I mean, that's kind of, I'm so bad at naming things that kind of just came up in my mind. It's kind of, I know I said this like a couple of videos ago that I hate like poetic names. It's not really a poetic name, but I don't know. It's really hard to describe it because it'll hopefully be described in the story. But it does mean something. It's not just like a random thing. I can't really describe. Anyway, my book this year is going to be called Nightingale Road. And the blurb, the little like tagline on the front is "One girl looking for a new life, one boy looking for a human sacrifice." So what it's going to be about is it's a young adult kind of fantasy fiction. I'm actually basing it in the UK, which is kind of like, whenever I write books, I tend to not write them in the UK because I just don't know. I like to be more adventurous in my writing and write about places that are a little bit more far away, just for like the fun of writing another place. But it is set in the UK, which is neither here nor there really. And it's about a girl called Sana, and she moves back to the town where she was born, looking with her mother, and she moves into an old cemetery house. So a house in a cemetery. And if you know me personally, you know that that's like a dream of mine, to move into a house in a cemetery, and hopefully at one point in my life that will happen. But so she moves into a house in a cemetery with her mother, I haven't actually like written the actual blurb properly yet, so this is just going to be a little bit higgledy-piggledy. So Sana moves into town. She wants a new life, wants to start over, doesn't want any of her previous baggage to kind of come up. So her secret is that she just doesn't want people to know about her past. So that's like the secret that she's holding on to, because all of my characters have to have secrets. And so she makes friends and starts this new life. And then she runs into this group of boys. There's 3 of them, so it's not really a big group. And it's going to be told in dual perspective. So Sana is the first character, and then the other character who's the perspective point of view is River. And he is like the leader of this kind of like band of boys who happen to be Draugrs. I can't really say the word, so it's basically like it's going to be based on Scandinavian mythology for like kind of like zombies. So they're like, I didn't want to write a vampire novel, but I did want to write a novel about the undead, and I thought, how about zombies? So these boys are zombies in kind of some sense of the word. So there's going to be some kind of mythology and lore thrown in there about all of that. And there is going to be a trip to a hell dimension. So it's kind of going to be really dark and hopefully creepy and a bit weird and not anything like many people write about. I feel like people just kind of stick to like the real world, but I'm hustling it out of the real world and we're going to a hell dimension. So that should be fun. Yeah, and it's kind of going to be about her looking for adventure and him looking for a human sacrifice and what's going to happen. They may fall for each other. Anyway, I'm really excited to start writing it, and once I finish this week of planning, I'm hoping that I'm going to be in the situation where I feel like I'm in a good place to write it. So wish me luck. So if anybody here is writing this year, please drop me just like a synopsis, whatever you're writing, whatever you want to tell me. And also, if you are on NaNoWriMo, like the website and stuff, drop me a link to your profile and let's be friends. Yeah, fun story. I actually had my first year of NaNoWriMo, and I added loads of friends and stuff. I noticed that somebody who lived where I live was part of NaNoWriMo, so I added her as a friend. That was 10 years ago, and last month or the month before, we actually met for the first time in real life. It only took me 10 years to be social. I'm an awful person. So good luck to everybody who's participating. Like I say, I'm hoping to drop in and do some more lives. It's difficult because a lot of my friends tend to not be based in the UK, so figuring out a time and stuff is difficult. And I don't understand time at the best of times, so trying to figure out world times is just not for me. But I might do some lives and some write-ins and stuff. We shall see what happens. But I'll definitely be posting on socials, mostly Instagram and Twitter. I tend to neglect my Facebook page. And I'll be posting on my blog. And I'm going to try and do some just regular YouTube videos as I go as well. So why not just overload, just pile on all the obligations? I'll take them. Thank you very much to everybody who has dropped by. Doing lives is a new thing for me, and every one, I feel like I get a little bit better, but also I'm not great. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much if you commented. Thank you to Patrick in particular, who has always been here, which is really nice to have people, and also my boyfriend who watches and doesn't comment, just so that I don't feel awkward. So thank you to everybody. Yeah, and catch me anywhere else on socials. The links are everywhere. I'm sure you'll be able to find me. yeah, and I'm going to go now and do some yoga after I finish my whiskey. I'm sure that's going to go great. See you all soon, and have a lovely week of planning. Goodbye.